being the perfect transition here into our first Team Rockets Mewtwo on the weekends.
Yeah, this is Patrik showing off the Team Rockets Mewtwo. And at a 30th place finish back at Worlds in 2015, that's what I'm talking about. Send it back to the old school. The last result previously was top 32 in Sacramento, a 28 in Milwaukee, and maybe wondering how the Dragon Ball matchup's going. 3-1 so far. Can it be 4-1? Robert may have something to say about that.
Yeah, and Robert on the other side did finish at 9th place at Houston Regional Championships. A strong finish there. Has some experience with Dragapult from the previous season, but first chance to play it here in the new format. He has defeated both Henry Chow and Cal Connor so far this weekend. So he's not had an easy battle to get to this point. Not an easy road at all. One more game remains for him to try to punch a ticket into top cuts.
Those are two very notable Dragon Ball players on the other side that were thinking specifically about the mirror match when they built their decks. If Robert was able to take both of them down, certainly has some skill to his play. And we'll see if that translates now with a very interesting matchup on the other side in that Team Rockets Mewtwo.
Yeah, and I think a lot of players would look at this matchup and probably give a small edge to the Team Rockets Mewtwo, but where it becomes close is just the consistency disparity between these two decks. Dragapult EX, of course, having access to Drugcloak, Recon Directive, the best consistency throughout the game, and from Patrick's side, I mean, the Team Rockets supporter suite is one of the best packages in the game, but there is no onboard draw power that he'll be able to capitalize on.
Yep, so often as the case with this format, we talked about what can happen with these supporters. There's so many great ones in the arsenal, but the attack power can be in question, and that's one piece that you don't want to see. Lily's Clefairy opens up plenty of avenues, but not this game.
And not something Patrick's going to be excited to see in the prize cards, though he could find it later and still try to work it in at some point. It is kind of in the middle of the prize cards. Definitely a little awkward here. Over on Robert's side, honestly, nothing too bad. 3 Pokemon, be a little awkward, but all things he has multiple copies of in his list.
All right, fist bump underway. One final round separating these players from taking a break or going into the top cut.
It is a Team Rockets Mewtwo EX as the starter for Patrik, a Dreepy on the right for Robert. And right away, Team Rockets Transceiver, giving me flashbacks of Holland's Transceivers searching the deck for a supporter card and adding it to the hand. Now you may question, why would you get a supporter card out of your deck on the first turn? He's going first, he can't play one. Oh wait, yes he can. Team Rockets Proton. One of the few supporters in the game that has this effect that if you go first, you may use this card for your first turn. Search your deck for 3 basic Team Rockets Pokemon and put them in your hand.
And we've seen this before with this deck. Going first can be so impactful, and sure enough, it lines up here again. Searching out some more friends to help out. We know about that Team Rockets Articuno, setting up with that Repelling Veil to assist with some of this prevention you'll need down the road. And if you can set up a little of that acceleration with your Team Rocket Spite Ups eventually, need that Tarantula to get things rolling.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see Team Rockets Articuno. I can't say I was expecting to see both Team Rockets Articuno found off the opening Proton, but I mean, Patrick's got great experience in this matchup so far just this weekend, so he must know how important it is to get those Articuno up and rolling. Over on Robert's side, he'll open up with a Pokepad, not the Buddy Buddy Poffin I'm sure he would have preferred, but this will give him the opportunity to find out a Pokemon without a rule box. Could get another Dreepy, of course, could get Budew if he wants to try to slow Patrik down perhaps a bit.
Yeah, Badew's pretty interesting in this matchup as there's a few different cards to look out for. As you mentioned with the Transceiver, you want to avoid seeing some of those supporters and the versatility that can be found in that card, but there's a one-of copy of Bug Catching Set that could be pretty impactful if you find that card at the right time. Search out some of these other pieces of your Team Rockets line, Tarantula, but my goodness, this is just the worst Buddy Buddy Poffin ever, but it's gonna work.
Buddy Buddy Poffin the hard way here for Robert Simpson as he is going to play 3 Pokepad in this opening sequence. Normally a card you love to save to get Dracloaks into play, to get Dusclops, to get Dusknor. These Pokemon that feel so rough to Ultra Ball for later on, but Robert's hand forced here. If he wants to get set up, he'll have to use these Pokepads. That's what he commits to.
Finding these resources, has the energy to retreat as well, and doesn't have to lose a Psychic or a Fire. Not bad. And Badoo locking in. How much of an impact will this be? Not so much just yet.
Lily's Determination played pretty swiftly from Patrik, shuffling the hand in, getting himself 8 cards at this early turn of the game. I'm sure looking for a Team Rocket's energy so that Erasure Ball can just take that knockout on Badoo. Patrik did prize one of them, so he's only got 3 floating around in the deck currently, but 8 cards gives him a decent shot to see it. Oh no.
Ooh, that's a lot of grass.
In theory, it gives him a decent shot to see it. He is unable to find it. Does get grass energy, which he can get established into play. On to Team Rocket's Tarantula. We do see another Tarantula. We do see Spidops, but he's not going to bench any of these Pokemon. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, just wants to keep a nice small board at this spot, and there's, you always wonder, and what else are you trying to accomplish with this board? If you go wider, you set up those energies, and maybe you have some attackers down the line that could challenge a couple of these Dracloaks. But if there's no pressure on this point, I mean, look at the hand from Robert. There is Dracloak, Rare Candy. This could get rolling pretty quick.
Does kick it off with 1 Dracloak, using a Recon Directive. Looking at the top 2, adds 1 to the hand, sends 1 to the bottom. Here comes another Dracloak to do just the same. Finding himself Unfair Stamp and an Ultra Ball Unfair Stamp. Not useful right now, but could be a nice piece to hold on to. He's gonna choose to do just that, impacting, perhaps bracing for potential KO on Patrik's side.
I mean, that's not always the line you go for in that spot. If Ultra Ball discarding the Psychic and another piece, maybe that leads to a Crispin off a Meowth attacking with this Dragapult this turn. Instead, slows down, is content with the Badoo, and that's a lot of patience to practice here.
Here's another Team Rocket's Proton to find out 3 more basic Team Rocket's Pokemon, and there are quite a few different techs in Patrik's deck this weekend. He does have the Team Rocket's Mimikyu with that Gemstone Mimicry attack, choosing one of your opponent's active Terra Pokemon's attacks, using it as this attack, of course, very strong into Dragapult, especially if a Lily's Clefairy were to be benched alongside it, though we know that won't be an option. He also does have Team Rocket's Wobbuffet working this weekend with the Rocket Mirror to move all damage counters from one of his benched Team Rocket's Pokemon to the active. That could be a really nice way to remove so much damage from the behemoth that is Team Rocket's Mewtwo EX.
Yes, so often it will just compile like that. Your opponent has to play around it and either work in the jet headbutts and then attack in to try to clear this threat, or you just walk into that same situation so often we saw with Zoroark players and copying onto that Reshiram of old.
Couple Recon Directives right away does yield a Fire Energy for Robert, so he's got the opening to attack, but perhaps has a bit of pause seeing Team Rocket's Mimikyu on the bench. Now you may say, why wouldn't he just take it out? It's on the bench. It only has 60 HP. Phantom Dive, right? But no. Repelling Veil from Team Rocket's Articuno, protecting all of those benched Pokemon from the effects of these attacks. And
wow.
Patrik having nothing just to pass. Now back over to Robert. This is what so many people have called out as the problem with this Team Rocket stack.
It's once you get to this point, you don't have any way to continue to draw. It's players just chaining together draws with the use of their supporters, and then that Team Rocket's factory, just seeing more and more cards over and over again. But if you don't have that lined up consistently, you just run out of gas. And it's not like Patrik has nothing available, but without the backup plan of Lily's Clefairy, you don't have a guaranteed KO on this Dragapult.
And the more time Patrik gives over to Robert, the more established he'll get, the more opportunity he has to work in some Cursed Blasts. Robert's certainly happy with the situation. I wonder what else Robert would possibly be waiting for at this point. When is it time to go? When does he push the advantage here with a Dragapult attack.
Yeah, I wonder if setting up the Duskulls so that you can work in the Dusknoir, Dusclops to put enough pressure onto the Articunos would be a play, and then you can start to bank off of the back end of that Dragapult EX, attacking in for 200, maybe clearing a threat, but also taking a knockout on a Pokemon like Mimikyu.
He will be content to continue this Itchy Pollen barrage, knowing that Patrik has not been able to do much with that attack being utilized. And do you see another Team Rockets V2? And is that another Grass Energy? Still no Team Rockets energy for Patrik. Just a pass.
I mean, you think about the way that you build your deck and how many cards can help you in this spot. Patrick's usually prepared for situations like this, actually featuring multiple copies of the Pokemon tool Lucky Helmet to help find some more cards and spots that his Pokemon just get attacked into, but he's just stuck, just waiting to see what can happen next.
Lucky Helmet's such a funny card to be seeing played at a competitive level. I think put on the map for many players by Tord Reklev at a Champions League event over in Japan, where he played this exact archetype Team Rockets Mewtwo back in its release initial wave with the Lucky Helmets. But players just looking for any opportunity to try to draw a little bit more. Robert is going to spread some energy out, so that makes me think still not going to feel like going in with an attacker. And there is the Lucky Helmet we've just called out. Patrik could slap it onto the Mewtwo, and now begs the question for Robert, how much does he want to continue Itchy Pollening?
Yeah, and we're getting closer to that spot. If this did continue, but he's moving on. No Lucky Helmet. It doesn't matter if you have that safety. You're just not going to get through the onslaught of that initial setup. Robert had everything working his way.
Just Badoo carrying the team there all the way to victory, slowing Patrik down. And I mean, he had that Lily's Determination on the opening turn. He saw 8 cards and then just did nothing the rest of the game, missing out on that Team Rockets energy, missing out on the aggression, on the attack. Just was too much for him to come back from, and he's going to need to fight back in 2 more games here if he wants to make it into Top Cut this weekend.
That's a lot to ask, but maybe get the job done. There's a world where this deck just does have a great setup and start to attack in early and often, make use of that Fairy Zone on the Lily Clefairy, just put pressure on Robert. But I think if you don't get aggressive and start using that Team Rocket Spite Ops to clear off your cloaks in the early game, it's going to be hard to win 2 games like that.
Just taking a quick look out to the matches on the floor. We don't have any results yet, Kyle, which makes me believe that there's not much IDing happening out on the floor. Players playing out these final games kind of as we expected. And that is, of course, no different for these 2 competitors sitting at 10-2, needing a win to guarantee a spot. Looks like Patrik has taken a mulligan here, so Robert will get some more cards to work with in this opening turn. Patrik does, of course, need to find a basic Pokemon for us to get into this game. I'm sure they'll be hoping to not prize that Lily's Clefairy in this one, though I do have to say, not sure how much help it would have provided him in that first game.
I don't think we saw a Psychic Energy provided at any point in time, so can't do much else with that. Prizes are underway. The fist bump in play. Here we go.
It will be Patrik choosing to go first yet again, and yet again Team Rockets Transceiver will guarantee his opening supporter being found. That Team Rockets Proton, searching for 3 Team Rockets Pokemon, adding them to the hand. Rockets Mewtwo and the second Rockets Articuno fetched out, as one was in the active position as a starter, and that nice little R-stamped Team Rockets Mimikyu, making sure everyone knows what he's repping. Looking at the prize cards here, we do see one of those 2 Lucky Helmet in the prizes. That one of Sacred Ash, a nice little recovery option. Overall, though, Kyle, I'd say it's not too bad.
Yeah, much better than last time. Plenty of play here. And if we were ever to question if Articuno was the play, second one already lined up, and there's not a single Tarantula to go. But there is a Lucky Helmet.
And a Team Rockets energy, which was a big missing piece in game number 1. Now over to Robert, who has opened up with Meowth EX. Certainly something he was not excited to see. He's got himself Dreepy and also Ultra Ball to go get Badoo if he wants it. Energy can retreat this Meowth, and a Lily's Determination in the hand. Lots of options here for Robert Simpson.
And does Badoo look as enticing this time around? Just an energy to retreat this Articuno leads to Team Rocket's Mewtwo, and every time that you deny your opponent the items, you're going to give them some additional cards. I don't know if that trade-off works for you.
Yeah, Lucky Helmet just being stuck in the active spot would just let the Mewtwo take some hits and draw some cards. A situation I'm sure Patrik wouldn't mind too much. And oh boy, Kyle,
Yeah.
as the prize cards are being searched here for Robert, he's getting a bit of bad news.
Thankfully, off this Ultra Ball, didn't lose too many resources that be affected by this information, but double Dragapult, one of those Dusclops. It is a 2-2-1 line, which we don't always see, but thankfully has that to go. And this is what we mentioned. Instead of going for the Badoo, just focus on the consistency, get that second Dreepy down, and if you find it, sure, maybe you can work it in later on, but it's more important to just have that attacker ready to roll at this stage.
8 cards off the Lily's Determination. So no Badoo will be happening this turn. I do see that Dragapult being found. Crispin potentially next turn is an option. Pokepad, get a Dracloak. Not much else really for Robert here to play on this side of it. Just a pass, 8 cards holding in the hand. Draw for turn on Patrick's side is a basic Grass Energy, and Lily's Determination will send the hand to the deck. He'll draw himself 8 new cards, and he will not be locked out by Badoo this game.
Yeah, finally has the attacker ready to roll too. Just looking for a way to move this Pokemon at some point, and seeing these cards, we know how important it can be, but you need some help. If you don't see the Grass Energy to start moving around, if you don't see an additional supporter for later on, you can get stuck, and just one Mewtwo isn't going to get you over the threshold. You're going to need a little more help.
8 cards here for Patrik. See what else he gets into. Last game he did go out for a Team Rocket Spidops, so he could still try to get one Tarantula in play to find out a Spidops in the future. He will do just that, I assume, off this Ultra Ball. Down goes the Team Rocket's Kangaskhan EX. A nice little tech for some potential Cornerstone Mask problems this deck does run into. Not useful in this matchup, and Tarantula will join the party on the bench.
Yeah, just a really versatile Pokemon to see in that Tarantula evolve into the Spidops. You see some of these energies come back, and if it leads to eventual retreating if you have to, or just having that one prize exchange to slow down, take away some Cloaks or Dusclops at some point, be a great Pokemon to incorporate at some point.
Pass of the turn from Patrik over now to Robert. Kicks it off with Pokepad. Of course, finding Dracloak. I don't think that's much of a surprise. Getting this draw power established, streamlining his turns from here on out. Have to think that another Dreepy would be something he'd love to see join the party here pretty soon, so he can keep stringing together Dracloaks through the future of the game, and also have to imagine he'd love to find Dusclops at some point this turn.
Yeah, just
Duskull, excuse me.
right. If you find a little more help here, it's just Buddy Poffins have been hard to find for whatever reason. One of those would be extremely useful, and
Ooh.
looks like the hand will definitely load up for the Dracloaks, but this is an interesting card we don't always see featured.
Dawn is the supporter here for Robert. Not a card we see very often in Dragapult lists these days. Searching out a basic Pokemon of Stage 1 and Stage 2, adding them to the hand. It works really nicely in decks that do play multiple Stage 2 Pokemon, such as this one with Dusknoir being in the mix. He will start off, though, with a, I believe it was a Pokepad, finding out another Dracloak. So just another Recon Directive, perhaps looking for something a little more powerful, like a Lily's Determination for turn.
Yeah, if you already have energy lined up, which we see the fire energy, then I would imagine that the Dawn plus Pokepad for something that wasn't Dracloak would be a little more helpful to setting up the wider board. This leads me to believe that maybe he was looking for a Crispin play that you could retreat and attack in with something, but this isn't the setup for that. You don't have rare candies to work for that, so just a bit curious. And maybe tunneled on that Lily's Determination that you mentioned. As that could just be a way to reset and try again.
He does have a second Meowth EX in his deck, so if he wants to try to find out a Lily's here, he could do it off this Ultra Ball, but does look like he will go with the Badoo now, which feels a little curious.
I mean, your opponent has shown you Lucky Helmet, just an energy away from attacking in, and everything says you don't need to use Itchy Pollen here, but maybe that also works against your opponent. As Patrik, what if they held a Team Rocket's Transceiver in a spot like this, thinking, well, there's no way they play into this, and sure enough, you do present that threat.
Yeah, and I guess with no Dragapult potential here, there's not really much else better to attack with, and I think Robert definitely wants to get this Meowth out of the active spot. So he will do just that. Would force a Team Rocket's Giovanni from Patrik should he want to take 2 prize cards this turn. And will be a little more limited in finding that since Rocket's Transceiver is not available. There's an attachment to Team Rocket's Articuno, and the Team Rocket's Ariana will allow Robert to draw until he has 8 cards in his hand, since all of his Pokemon in play are Team Rockets.
Calculated. The one backfall of playing that Lily's Clefairy at some point is you will not get the full use of this card, so make sure that you can do that here, and here is the Team Rocket's Mewtwo.
Now it's time.
Ready to roll, Lucky Helmet attached.
Raise your ball, 160 base damage, and then you can discard 2 energy from your benched Pokemon, allowing you to do 60 more for each of those cards you discarded, pushing you up to the potential of 280 damage being output, though not necessary to topple the mighty Badoo, as down it goes to just the base 160. Robert will kick off his sequence with Recon Directive, having access to 2 on this turn. Did miss out on any sort of Buddy Poffin on the last turn. Been a strange lack of that so far this set for Robert.
And I'm getting a little nervous about the way that the cards have been played at this point, with the amount of energies that have already hit the discard pile, the lack of them in the hand currently to set up for attacks, and the clear use of Night Stretchers to stay in this game down the road if the Dragapults are continued to be missed off of the prize cards. This could be a situation where you don't have energies to close out at this game, especially if Lily's Clefairy is found soon.
Robert will use a Lily's Determination to send his hand in to get 8. He's loaded up a Dragapult in the active spot, though. Phantom Dive ready to roll. Will only be dealing 200 damage to the active, as that Articuno is protecting all of those benched basic Team Rockets Pokemon from the effects of attacks. Perhaps why we have not seen the Tarantula being evolved just yet, making sure that Spidops does not receive 60 damage for no reason at all. Robert here with the 8 cards found does have access to Recon Directive. Surely now he'll find a Buddy Poffin, right?
Well, it seems like it's there finally to go along with this, and
nope.
Plenty of Pokemon.
It's double Pokepad.
Oh, no. Well, we'll see if I think maybe it was in the middle of the hand there. As just search out some friends to go along with this, and
I mean, this is pretty safe as well for Robert. He's thinning before Recon Directive. He knows Patrick's only way to disrupt is going to be through the use of, well, no, Patrik actually not even playing the
disruption.
The disruption Team Rocket supporter. That's actually a bit of a surprise. That's one of the big draws to playing the Team Rocket stack. Doesn't even have the Archer in his list. So no worry from Robert about disruption here. Happy to get those Pokemon into hand. Does find himself a Team Rocket's, or not Team Rocket's Meowth, just a regular Meowth. Is going to use the flip the script here to draw 3 cards. Does finally have availability for Buddy Poffin and will choose to use it, but just failing. Not wanting to load too many Pokemon onto the bench. Not wanting to give Patrik targets for Phantom Dive, I suppose, Kyle.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line at this point. You see with just access to that Mimikyu, as soon as this Terra Pokemon's in the active, things can get rolling, and there's a lot of pieces in the hand right now. Multiple Dusk Gold to evolve into, and really accelerate this game if you wanted to, but he's been very calculated about when to place these down and will wait until the risky ruins is in play to do that.
Down come the couple Dust Skull, and there is the Phantom Dive. 200 damage onto the active. Now a draw on Patrik's side, pushing his hand size up to 10. Something we see much more commonly in the current format. Did he draw off with the Lucky Helmet?
I think that's what we saw initially. I'm not sure if we saw the draw for the turn.
No, I think he did not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got to draw 2 for the Lucky Helmet and then the 1 for turn. So,
ooh,
got it all sorted out there. So 12 cards now in Patrik's hand. Surely many options.
All the options, as the pink card has also been found off of this spot. Secret Box, which that opens up plenty of avenues. Lily's Clefairy to go along with it. No need to worry about some discards with the Team Rocket's Mewtwo, or if you want to incorporate some other Pokemon like that Mimikyu at some point, there's a lot of damage to be thrown around.
Clefairy does need to take 20 damage, by the way, with the Risky Ruins that is currently in play, so we'll make sure that gets addressed. But Secret Box is being used as the ace-spec of choice here for Patrik, searching his deck for one of each of the different 4 trainer cards, 1 item card, 1 stadium, 1 tool, and 1 supporter, adding them to his hand.
Yeah, we'll see if that was a bit of an accident to play down the Lily's Clefairy at that point, as you're searching out the stadium, taking that at 20 damage for no reason.
Yeah, I don't think the math, I mean, I guess it could matter, honestly.
It could be a problem with Dust Skull. Dust Skull plus Dusknoir could double clear and take that Pokemon off the board without having to use an attack.
It's very true. It's very true, though Patrik here may have other plans should he work in the Mimikyu, may clear some of those Dust Skulls out of play on this turn. Mewtwo does have a pretty hefty 3 retreat cost.
This has been one of the more interesting tech inclusions of the handheld fan, which we see now featured on the 2 more prominent Pokemon. Energy switch of the Psychic Energy over to this Mimikyu. Now both of these Pokemon ready to either move energies away and start to lean into that problem we talked about with the basic energies of Robert's side, and definitely clearing off a major threat in that Dragapult and potentially some Duskull.
Here comes a Lily's Determination for Patrik. We'll only get 6 cards now. Will not be able to use Team Rocket's Factory as well, as Lily is not a member of Team Rocket.
Maybe one day. Can convert the Clefairy too to help out with Ariana later.
Yeah, honestly, maybe that's what this deck would need. Here we go with 6 cards being found. Sure, Patrik happy to at minimum just get rid of that Risky Ruins. And we'll just attack with this Mewtwo, hitting for weakness thanks to Lily's Clefairy, that Fairy Zone. 2 more prize cards added now for Patrik, down to just 3. How will Robert respond?
I'm not sure Robert thought he'd be in a spot like this. There's a few Duskull to work with and plenty of damage on this side of the board, with 80 hit points remaining on the Team Rocket's Mewtwo. Even some help from rare candies could get the job done, and that's also a really interesting card to see now. It's Unfair Stamp is top decked.
Yeah, found from his draw for turn. A perfect time to play it is in a situation like this, right after your opponent has taken a KO, though that Lucky Helmet is probably not a bad card to see attached to the Rocket's Mewtwo at this juncture.
Look at the discard pile from Robert. There's no other way to search out Pokemon, and then the prize cards have the rest of your Dragapult. This is just, there's no way to search anything from this point of the game unless you fall into it.
1 Night Stretcher left. That's his way to get back a Dragapult here.
Just needs to find that card to get the job done. I think it's in hand, so it's guaranteed to go that direction, but it severely limits your output from the Dusclops and Dusknoirs down the road. And there's a rare candy, so all of it's here. There's so much. But how many prize cards are you willing to give in this spot? Would you actually go all the way down to 1 prize remaining for Patrik's side before the Unfair Stamp?
It's a question that we'll find the answer to here soon. As Robert has evolved all these Pokemon up. burning the Buddy Buddy Poffin as well. Not going to choose to grab anything. Going to be going all in on this Dracloak. The threat of that Lily's Clefairy is looming here, Kyle. Rocket's Mewtwo powered up on the bench. So some combination of KOing the Clefairy plus the unfair stamp down to 2. I mean, that's going to be what Robert's hoping is going to stick here.
I mean, with the Articuno that's protecting some of these other Pokemon, you're protected from a little bit of what the Dragapult can do, but with the Dusknoir and the Dusclops, there's clear knockouts on the active and the Lily's Clefairy, and you're just left with the Mimikyu, which doesn't do nearly as much as you need if you don't have that Lily's Clefairy in play.
We could see Robert actually use the Dusknoir to clear out the Mimikyu itself as opposed to the Clefairy.
Right.
That's an option here.
There's already one Psychic Energy played down too, so for Robert to find this energy could be a little tricky now.
Yeah, I don't think he's often attacking with the Lily's Clefairy. With the Psychic Energy, Mimikyu, of course, can just get the Team Rocket's energy.
I'm talking about for Robert to attack this turn.
Oh, this turn,
Dragapult.
sure. Yeah.
That's one down. The Night Stretcher route is not there. Pheasantipity already used. No Recon directives available. Just has to find the Psychic Energy itself. There's 2 copies.
Yeah.
1 in the prize cards, however. So it's just 1.
1 Psychic Energy needed. It is a pretty thin deck, I will say. So Robert's got a shot here off of these 8 cards still from Lily. How is he still drawing 8?
Right?
4 cards and 4 more, and there is no Psychic Energy. And now what for Robert? He can Jet Headbutt, but that's not even enough to KO the active Mewtwo.
10 short?
He'd have to pop a Dusknoir, Dusclops. He could also pop one of these Pokemon and try to take a KO and have just the 1 in 6 chance to snag out a Psychic Energy as it is prized.
Could go the 2 and 6 if you go into the Lily's Clefairy with both of them.
And he is going to pop both, and he is going to target that Lily's Clefairy, sending Patrik down to just 1 prize card. Robert will get 2 here. It's going to be Dragapult and a Lily's Determination added to his hand. Patrik 1 prize card away from just winning this game.
And it's never the top, is it? No.
He did take from the bottom.
Missing out on the 1 and 3 to find the energy. 10 short of a KO. Attacking in leads to more cards to find a way to recover this Lily's Clefairy.
There's many paths really for Robert to close out, or Patrik, excuse me, on this next turn to close out. If he finds even a Team Rocket's Giovanni, that would be game here as well. I will say though, Kyle, I don't see anything here, and Robert wisely chose not to attack this Mewtwo, did not want to give Patrik a couple extra cards with the Lucky Helmet.
And this is the problem you run into with this deck is you have Ultra Ball, and look at all these friends. Everyone's searching out with their Meowths and finding help, but ironically, the Team Rockets deck is the only one not taking full effect of this card and what it can do for you.
This could be an interesting find here with the Team Rockets Wobbuffet. Does Patrik have a Team Rockets energy in his hand? He could retreat this Mewtwo and then move 200 damage from it onto this active Dragapult, healing this Pokemon. Removing those damage counters. It doesn't look like that is the case. All he can do is erase your ball. Just dealing 160 damage, trying to set up to win on the next turn. Robert with so few cards left in the deck, and still somehow Psychic Energy eludes him.
Where do you go from here? Even if you find the Psychic Energy, you can attack in and put pressure, knock out the Mewtwo, but you're not handling this Mimikyu, which is going to clear you out, and that's it. Look at the last 2 cards, is Boss and Psychic. Maybe in another game, those cards could have lined up, but not this time around, and Patrik hangs on to take this game too.
Yeah, and hanging on is the best way to describe it. Very, very close margins in this one. As it is Patrik able to close things out down to just that 1 final prize card. Robert, prizing the double Dragapult, put a lot of strain on his recovery resources. As We recap that game number 2 to see how we got into game number 3. Aggression from Patrik, something we were unable to see in game number 1. An attack of Erasure Ball, deals with the early Badoo, deals with the Dragapult EX thanks to Lily's Clefairy providing that weakness. And though the double Cursed Blast play happened for Robert, clearing out the threat of Lily's Clefairy, awarding Patrik 2 prize cards, it just was not enough as Psychic Energy was not found as one of the 2 taken.
That play isn't available if the Risky Ruins mishap doesn't happen on Patrik's side of the board. There's a few other avenues where if Patrik finds the perfect energy, that Team Rocket's energy, he can just completely flip the board. And Robert, we're just seeing a little bit of inconsistency with the deck list. Only 8 energies to work with, does not have that Neo upper energy to incorporate into the strategy. And with only 2 Night Stretcher, prize cards really start to speak to you. If you see any of those waiting in the prize cards, if you see any of those crucial Pokemon again, like the Dragapult, maybe we'll see another issue here in Game 3.
Just under 17 minutes will remain here for this 3rd game. Should be enough time for us to see a natural conclusion. Robert did mulligan at least once, so Patrik will get himself 1 extra card to work with. I'm sure something he is not too upset to see. As we do see prize cards going out for our players. And it looks like Robert has chosen to go first. Move we see be so popular in this current format. Let's get into Game 3.
And not only is it great for you to see immediately with some of those item cards, a little bit of a setup, get that first energy in play, but you're playing against Team Rocket. You need to slow things down. Do not offer that turn 1 supporter. And that's double Duskull in the prize cards this time around.
The double Duskull.
It is just 2.
And one of those 2 stadiums as well in the Area 0 Underdepths. He plays 1 Area 0, 1 Risky Ruins. So less bumps for a Team Rocket's Factory. Speaking of which, prize for Patrik is that card. One of his 2 Team Rocket's Mewtwo as well.
And think about this. If this hand is not recycled, there's a few Night Stretcher. If you lose some of these resources, well, maybe that Psychic Energy could be a problem down the road too. And this is a pass of the turn. No energy to take advantage of this opening.
Very weak opening there for Robert. No energy as mentioned. No Buddy Buddy Poffin either. Just a Pokepad was the play. And right away, Patrik once again finds the opening Team Rocket's Proton. This time, no transceiver necessary. Just having it in his hand, ready to roll.
And if there were ever a game where you didn't need the second Articuno, that's when your opponent has double Duskull in the prizes. But it's not going to stop Patrik. Not that he knew anyways, but it will be the tried and true approach. Setting up nice consistent board, and hopefully for Patrik finding that lucky helmet for the Mewtwo and can avoid some of those troubles that we saw with the Itchy Pollen.
A very clear game plan here from Robert into this matchup. Knows exactly how he wants to approach it. Down comes the Mewtwo, the Rockets Mimikyu, the Team Rockets Articuno, and also a Team Rockets Energy now being attached to the Team Rockets Mewtwo, and a pass of the turn back over now to Robert. Does find himself a pretty nice top deck in the Buddy Buddy Poffin.
If only there were basic Pokemon that weren't just named Dreepy. But this does open avenues for the Itchy Pollen if you want to go down that route. The problem is you missed out on energy last turn. You still don't have one this turn. But maybe Dracloak has something to say about that.
And perhaps a supporter waiting in the hand as Robert was unable to play one on his first turn. Maybe a Dracloak as well, aiming to provide a little bit of additional help with some draw power.
What, under 14 minutes remaining to find a conclusion here in this set, and what an interesting back and forth we've had so far. It's just...
Oh, and Robert's, I think, not happy with something. Maybe just not happy with the fact that he knew he was going back into the deck. He does have actually Team Rocket's, I keep saying Team Rocket's Meowth. He does have Meowth EX in his hand. It just feels like it
I'm going to get you to say that's right at some point. This is when we've seen the Crispin be so impactful, is the retreating these Pokemon and missing out on the energies. It's been a real problem. And if there were ever a matchup where you will not take advantage of Monkey Dory Dark Energy, it's right here. So very limited will you see those the damage counters left on the board. It's always a knockout on the Dragapult.
Here comes a Dracloak here, Recon Directive. Looking at the top couple of cards. Psychic Energy being found is not too bad for the next turn. He does have Ultra Ball for maybe another Dracloak if he wants it, but it would be pretty costly to play. So he will hold off and just go with that Itchy Pollen.
This would do a lot if it weren't for the fact that Patrick's holding on to the goods. He's got Giovanni, Team Rocket's Mewtwo, and the energy. That's a KO on the Dracloak. But nice Stretcher's waiting in the hand.
Can get that Pokemon back right away. And he will go with a Meowth EX to search out any supporter card added to the hand. It will be Lily's Determination being grabbed. What a find from Patrik on the last turn. Having ya boy, Team Rocket's Giovanni, swapping one of his benched Pokemon and one of his opponent's benched Pokemon in order to snag that KO onto the Pokemon Robert had invested quite a bit into with his attachment last turn.
Yeah, just did not see that coming for Robert, and sure enough, it's going to punish us. Now, using one of those very costly Night Stretchers to find the Dracloak, still missing the energy to attach, has it in hand, but committing it here once more. If you see another Giovanni and an energy, well, even just retreating off of, or free retreating, swapping with the Mimikyu, this could be devastating.
There is that Recon Directive used. Finding Pheasantipity EX. Can give a little bit of extra draw power thanks to Flip the Script, thanks to Patrick's KO on the previous turn, and 3 cards that aren't going to help too much right here. The Ultra Ball is actually going to just get rid of those other Psychic Pokemon. Monkey Dory not very useful in this matchup, and then also Dusknoir. Robert kind of showing the hand a little bit here. It's not going to be useful with a couple Duskull being prized. He does use that Lily's Determination here, though, and will get himself 8 cards and finds another Dracloak as well. So still more cards to be accessed here, just trying to get set up, trying to get established here and slow Robert down with Badoo, Itchy Pollen.
Yeah. Was able to preserve some resources, shuffle those back in for later down the road. Finding that fire energy would be great for the following turn, and really just would love to avoid seeing this energy targeted this turn, as Itchy Pollen is your best chance at avoiding that, avoiding Transceiver running you into some trouble. Sure enough, we'll just continue to play out these cards, thin out the deck, and if all you have left are hits, you'll be able to stay in contention against a board that's not that strong. It's just Team Rocket's Mewtwo on the other side.
Dreepy joins the party here as the 5th and final Pokemon to hit the bench. And now Badoo's Itchy Pollen scratches over to the Mewtwo, 10 damage. Patrik right away, not much of a choice but to play Lily's Determination from the hand. Send that into the deck to draw himself 6 cards now, as he did take a prize card. And he will take one more lined up with Erasure Ball here.
Seeing these cards after a prize card, not exactly what you want, but of course finding something to keep this moving. The problem is, if you find the energies, do you even want to attach them at this point? You can start to charge up for your Mimikyu at some point, but it's such a vulnerable Pokemon.
The Wobbuffet does hit the board early in this one. No Tarantula being found to put down to get into a Spidops on the next turn. So just that bench of the Pokemon and an attack. Scores one more KO for Patrik, down to 4 prizes now remaining. Robert having everything in hand that he needs to get off his attack this turn with the Dragapult and a basic Fire Energy. And is going to feel probably a little bit better about it in this game than he did in the previous one, as there are no energy prepped on the Mimikyu. Not seeing any signs of that Clefairy just yet. I think if Robert could have his way perfectly, it would involve unfair stamp comboed on this turn.
I have trouble with this Ultra Ball and throwing away the Dark Energy. Yes, Dark Energy is not going to play onto Monkey Dory, but there will be a retreat at some point, surely, or a Pokemon that gets targeted with Giovanni to pause the game and instead held on to Buddy Poffin that's just shuffled back in at this point. you have to think that when you only play 8 energies, that will come into play at some point.
And you do need multiple different types of energy in the deck to play Crispin as well. Even if you aren't going to attach the dark energy, it can just get you that guaranteed extra attachment of a fire or psychic and adding the dark to your hand in the future. So perhaps a resource Robert will want back later on. So he does draw a full 8 here off of that Lily's Determination. Gets himself an Ultra Ball to thin the deck, and think that we're going to see him really dig for the use of an Unfair Stamp here. Still has Flip the Script available as well, so potential of a bunch of cards still to be seen. 7 from the 2 Recon Directives and that Pheasantipity.
You can see the problem with this current setup as is. This is why the straight Dragapult decks have had an issue with some of these tanky decks that can hold on, withstand the 200 hit attack of the Phantom Dive. It's because there are ways to combat this. When you have Team Rocket's Wobbuffet, when you have the Mimikyu alongside the Lily's Clefairy, you can just clear these Pokemon or just send the damage right back over.
Last shot.
Pokemon.
And there it is, the Unfair. He didn't even look at what the other card was.
You don't need to.
It knows that Unfair Stamp is going to be the grab, as Patrik did take a KO last turn. This will be very nice to send him down to just 2 cards in hand, and there is no Lucky Helmet on Patrik's side this game to help add to the hand size after this disruption.
I was ready to just go down the avenue of missing it, but does find that piece, and you can put the pressure on, maybe clear this Pokemon on the following turn, but he's going to check the threat. There's a problem. Wobbuffet could shift this damage right back over and negate this turn.
Robert gonna just read that Wobbuffet, make sure he knows exactly what his opponent could do here.
There was a devastating turn. If that wasn't found off the Unfair Stamp off that last recon, Patrik had the Giovanni along with Rocket's Energy to KO the Pheasantipity with the Wobbuffet and clear the damage off the board.
Wow, yeah, that would have been very powerful. And now instead, Patrik will be left with just a 3-card hand, and he does get a Lily's Determination. Not going to be the perfect combination of cards to set himself up. Oh, and actually, Robert even, look at this, Kyle.
Yeah.
Robert played around the potential of the Wobbuffet. He used Jet Headbutt. What a heads-up move.
Yeah, when you have that 10 damage that's placed earlier on, it just lines up so nicely. Now this Pokemon's 200 HP away from a KO. There's not a clear answer. It's basically on the back of Lily's Determination, finding its friend Lily's Clefairy to help out in this spot. Can that be found?
There's a handheld fan available now for Patrik. He's going to put that on the Mewtwo. This can mess with those energy attachments from the Dragapult player.
This card can be devastating. If there was 10 less damage, I would be really worried about this fan. However, the fact that it only has 1 use right now could be a lifesaver for Robert.
160 damage from the Erasure Balls, setting up for a 2-hit knockout with the Dragapults. The Pokepad being used from Robert. Maybe this is where we could see a Monkey Dory get in the mix, Kyle?
It's very rare that this Pokemon has a chance, but do we need to mention the Dark Energies that were tossed away? 2 sitting in the discard pile. There's just a Psychic and a Fire remaining, along with 1 Night Stretcher in deck. Can you really afford to use those resources? It would be nice to preserve some hit points.
How worth it will it be? Especially since Mewtwo could still very easily get the knockout next turn with just the discard of a single energy from the bench, though this active will likely be going down here. 2 cards from the top with Recon Directive. Crispin sent to the bottom. 1 more Recon Directive now to use. See what he is able to work with. Neither of those cards adding much help. Rare Candy's all but useless at this point with those Duskulls being prized. With Patrik having taken so many prize cards already, I think we are very unlikely to see a Curse Blast happen this game.
Yeah, wise to see you move back the Dracloak as you just want a target for the Ultra Ball if you want to continue to thin out this deck, but having that bench space for the last Meowth to potentially close out on the last major threat that Patrik could present in this game. Could be pretty impactful. And these are the last energies. The cards are being all but presented. If Patrik wants to set something up with the fan and Giovanni's, maybe Robert doesn't find a way to take the last prize cards here.
There is the KO, 200 damage, perfect math after the Itchy Pollen, plus Jed Headbutt, plus the Phantom Dive. We don't normally think about 3-hit KOs being very strong in this current metagame, though it is going to be nice here for Robert to get on the board, tying the game up 4-4 prize cards. And what does Patrik have available? I don't feel like there's much in his hand, Kyle.
No.
Does he have a draw supporter? Oh, he has a Lily, but he's going to use Proton.
Hey, we've seen this from Patrik. Just cool, calm, and collective under pressure. And use the Team Rocket Spite Ups and charge up a little and see some energies.
Yeah, and can actually even get a KO here with
guarantee.
this Pokemon. Yeah, with the attachment of turn, Rocket Rush, 30 damage for each of your Team Rocket's Pokemon in play.
Just, it had to be this mark at 160 remaining. You have to guarantee that Pokemon right now. And can pressure this Pokemon, take the knockout. There's just the one fire, the one Night Stretcher to continue to find Dragapults at this stage.
There it is, Rocket Rush. Down goes the Dragapult. 2 prizes now remaining for Patrik. A pretty simple path to close it out for him as well, should another Dragapult EX come into play. Robert kicks off his sequence with a Flip the Script to draw 3 cards. Lots of available resources in the hand. Still has a couple recon directives. Needs to find himself a Fire Energy and a Dragapult to get off an attack here. Or is there some better line?
I mean, if you want to find that line for a win, you have to move pretty quickly. There's 40 seconds remaining. The resources are dwindling.
Could he Dragon Headbutt the Mimikyu here for a prize card? That's probably too slow at this point.
Yeah, if you do that play, it needs to be in the next 10 seconds because you need Patrik to promote again, draw for the turn, and allow yourself 2 turns to get this done.
There's like 3 cards in Robert's deck right now. He needs to have some urgency here to close out this game.
This is the problem when you don't have access to the Duskulls. There's no other way to accelerate this clock. You have to continue to punch through, and Team Rocket's Articuno may just be the MVP of this set.
We're going to get word on exactly when time is called here in this sequence at the table, as currently Patrik has not promoted and drawn, which would make him turn 1, Robert completing turn 0 there, and I believe that is going to be the case here. Patrik on to turn 1. Going to start his sequence with bug catching sets. He needs to find Lily's Clefairy and Team Rocket's Energy. If he finds those 2 cards, the game is over. Gemstone Mimicry copying the Phantom Dive to take the last knockout. Team Rocket's Giovanni as well could work as a way to target down the Team Rocket's Meowth if he has enough basic Rockets Pokemon. And he could do that right now. Does he have one more Pokemon to bench? Yes, there is that Kangaskhan and the Team Rocket's Giovanni. 180 damage, takes out Meowth, and Patrik punches his ticket into Top Cut.
Wow, I mean, that's just something else. To spot the line, take that last KO. So often, we thought that in this format it would be the Meowth that is using boss's orders and closes out. Maybe it's time we turn the table and to use Giovanni against that Meowth.
Giovanni showing us who the real boss is. Taking down the Meowth to close out the game. Well played by Roberts to get to this point. Congratulations on the run, but he will come up just short of a Top Cut berth.
Yeah, what a match we had here. Let's take a look once more as it started all too familiar for Team Rockets. A peculiar start. Of course, find all your friends, and then where do you go from here? To game 2.
Yeah, very quick decision there. I do like Patrick's decision to concede and move on to future games, and it pays off massively as he is able to win in turns of game number 3. If he had stuck out that game 1 much longer, he might not be finding himself in top cut.
And look at this. For Patrik, it just leads to these spots where he has more time to be patient in the game. He slows down, he uses the full hit points of his Pokemon, and it doesn't overextend into KOing those Duskulls, and ends up coming up with a game win there, which led to him having about 14 minutes in this last game, and he needed every second of it to beat turn 1.
Ends up being just enough for him as Robert was able to swing back and took down the mighty Mewtwo. Just a little too far behind. Patrik able to have a 1 prize board. Robert not able to extend due to the Duskulls being in the prize cards. Definitely feels a little bad for that to have been the way things ended up. And speaking of the way things end up, Team Rocket's Giovanni brings up the Meowth, closing out the game. Congratulations to Patrik on making it into cut.